What's going on, everybody? This is John Jake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the NCSL Dynasty, located exclusively here on College Football Revamp, more specifically NCAA 14. In the previous episode, you saw the off-season, you saw a lot of the coaching changes, as well as what happened in recruiting, all that good stuff. But now we are here, preseason is among us, and we got a jam-packed episode for you guys as we get ready for the sequel from the inaugural season of the NCSL season, because we are now here in season number 2. We are going to start this episode off. We are going to take a look at the preseason top 25. We'll also take a look at each individual conference, maybe give out my personal predictions to win each conference possibly, or at the very least win their division. We'll also take a look at what the preseason Heisman Watch is going to say. Who are those preseason All-Americans? And then we will round it out by showing off your custom players and your custom coaches that are part of that year 2 class. So guys, I hope you guys are comfortable. I hope you guys are ready for a jam-packed episode, because we got a good one here today. So if you guys are excited for it, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button for me real fast, because that really does help me out with the YouTube algorithm for sure. Gets it out to more college football fans like yourself. And then also, if you're brand new and you like what you see, hit that subscribe button as well. I would truly appreciate that. But now, let's not waste any more time, and let's see what that preseason top 25, what is that looking like? But now we go ahead and get ourselves into what that preseason top 25 poll is initially going to be looking like. And we have a new team that is ranked number 1. They come from the Sun Belt Conference. It is the Ole Miss Rebels, so they'll be your number 1 team to start the season out. Now, that being said, that does not guarantee you a spot in the college football playoff. Just because you are ranked in the top 25 or ranked number 1 does not mean you'll end up in the playoff, because LSU, who was actually ranked number 2 in this preseason poll, they were number 1 to start last season, and they didn't make it into the college football playoff. So just because you may not be ranked very highly here at the beginning of the season does not mean you'll be there at the end of the season necessarily. But LSU has a great football team. They have a real shot of winning the national championship. And then USC, they brought in a fantastic class. They brought in the number 1 recruiting class in the country. 7 5-star guys that could see the field right away. They have a 99 overall offense as well. So if they're going to be a problem this season out on the West Coast, we might be seeing them in the national championship game at the end of the season. But Miami's also getting some love as well. They're at number 4 in the country. The Miami Hurricanes are your defending national champions. Michigan at 5, who did make it to the college football playoff, as did UCLA. California was really close as well at number 7. Washington at 8, they made it to the college football playoff. Nebraska comes in at number 9, a team that started year number 1 unranked, almost made it to the college football playoff, but an upset loss to Wisconsin dashed those hopes. Oregon comes in at number 10, and that rounds out your top 10. So a lot of teams from the Pac-12 conference, actually, if I did my math right, 5 out of the top 10 coming out of the Pac-12 conference here in these geographically realigned conferences. Moving through the rest of the top 25, we have Minnesota at 11, Ohio State at 12, Syracuse, who was a darling of last season, they're at number 13 in the country. Penn State at 14, representing for Conference USC. Georgia at 15, but watch out for Georgia. They could be a dark horse to make it to the college football playoff. They too have an elite football team, 99 overall offense, 99 overall team. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with this season. Arkansas is at number 16. North Carolina at 17. They won the ACC conference back in year number 1. Michigan State at 18. Baylor at number 19. And rounding out your top 25, it's Pittsburgh at 20. Navy at 21. Oklahoma comes in at number 22. Alabama at number 23 in the country. The Arkansas State Red Wolves getting a little bit of love as they're now number 24 to start the season. And rounding out your group is the Army Black Knights, who will be your final top 25 team. They will be ranked number 25 in the entire country. But now we have taken the time to get through the top 25 for the preseason polls. Let's take a moment to actually dive into each of the conferences, and more specifically each division, to see how things could shake out over the course of the season. We'll start things out in alphabetical order, so we start in the ACC conference for this season, and we start out in the Carolinas division, where Carolinas division could be an open race yet again. Charlotte did win this division last season before losing to North Carolina in the conference championship game. It looks like it could be a pretty open race once again. Virginia Tech narrowly favored to win this division, but gotta check out teams like Clemson. South Carolina also has a realistic chance as well, not to mention Wake Forest and Charlotte. These are all teams that could make some noise in the Carolinas division. Really, the only thing that could be set in stone is this Appalachian State team. I think it's pretty safe to say that they could finish last place in the Carolinas division this year. Meanwhile, in the Commonwealth division, North Carolina did win this conference last season, and North Carolina is projected to win yet again, but they're only a 3-star program. But the next best team is Virginia, so this is not a very strong division to say the least. A lot of 1-star programs, a lot of occasional 2-star as well, but I think North Carolina, because they benefit from being in a pretty weak division, I think we can see them in the conference championship game yet again. But you never know what could happen, but it looks like North Carolina should be the heavy favorite. So now we take ourselves over to the Frontier division of the American Conference. And here in the American Conference, Nebraska did win this division in year number 1, with Minnesota finishing as the runner-up. They were the last team that was out of the college football playoff in year number 1. So this is also a team that did not they were a team that was not ranked to start the season. So Minnesota getting a lot of love going into this year and could win this division yet again. Nebraska listed as the favorite, but I can see Minnesota winning this division personally. Probably will end up being a 2-team race though, as Kansas State is just a little too far away. There might be a year out from competing for winning this division, with Iowa State, Missouri, and Kansas all bringing up the rear. As for who to expect from the Lake division of the American Conference, we now see that Wisconsin was a team that won this conference in general. They were a huge surprise, and they actually are not ranked in the top 25. So Wisconsin not getting a lot of respect to start this season out. But Iowa is actually picked to win this particular division as a 3-star school, but I personally think Wisconsin is that team to watch here. Eastern Michigan could do some things, but their defense really needs to mature quickly. They're going to have, at least on paper, the worst defense in the country. No one else has a defensive rating under 70. Eastern Michigan is the only school that has that going on for them. So could be a lot of shootouts for Eastern Michigan this upcoming season, but if their defense gets right, they could be a dark horse. And then I think Central Michigan, Bowling Green, and Western Michigan, these are all teams that will probably bring up the rear, as I think they're all just a year out from competing for a conference championship. As for the Big 12, we check out teams that are going to primarily compose of the state of Texas, with a couple of Oklahoma teams sprinkled in there. Starting with the Alamo division. Last year, we did see Texas A&M win this division. Ultimately, I'm surprised that Texas A&M is just a 2-star school, considering what they did accomplish last season, even though they didn't make it to the college football playoff. But this is a team that won close to double-digit games last year, right? So I'm surprised that they're just a 2-star school. Baylor is picked to win, and I think they are the favorite to win this division, to represent for the Alamo division. But at the same time, though, I was a little surprised by that. There's a lot of teams that are a little bit underrated, with the exception of Texas, maybe. Texas could be a team that could surprise some people. They have an elite team, but is their coaching there, though? Now, for the Lone Star Division, this is the Northern Texas teams as well as the state of Oklahoma represented. Oklahoma was a team that also won this division last year, and they are the favorites to win it once again, but a couple of teams to certainly watch out for include Texas Tech. The Red Raiders got a strong offense this upcoming season. And then TCU also has a pretty solid team. They're looking to rebound after a year in which they did not even make it to a bowl game. So those are two teams to certainly watch out for sure. Tulsa, I think, is the cutoff, though. I think Tulsa has a lot of work to do before we see them competing for conference championships as well, but could very well be a three-team race for the Lone Star Division. But now we move things over to the Midwestern part of the country where we check in on the Big Ten, and these are the teams that represent the Buckeye Division. Cincinnati won this division last year, even though they didn't go bowling, right? So they finished 5-8, but they did win Ohio State, and Cincinnati just happened to have the tiebreaker over Ohio State, so they actually got to play for a conference championship and for a bowl game as well, but it just didn't work out for them. However, I think that was a fluke year for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think Ohio State is going to win this division again. Definitely a little bit fluky what happened, but we'll see if Ohio State can bounce back, because they certainly took a little bit of an L back in year number 1. And this is the division that is, you're looking at the rest of the teams in this part of the conference, it looks very winnable. But a conference that will be a little bit more challenging to navigate is the Hoosier Division, that primarily composes of teams from the state of Indiana, but there is some Michigan and a Ohio team here. Michigan, we saw them in the college football playoff this year. They do come back with a strong football team yet again. They're ranked in the top 5, so I would be shocked if they did not win this division yet again. Michigan State, though, is a good squad, though, 3-star program, but they got to really ramp up recruiting if they want to compete with the Michigan Wolverines. Kind of the same thing that I'm kind of was talking about for the Buckeye Division. I do think this will be a year that we'll see Ohio State and Michigan play against each other, not just in the regular season, but also in postseason action as well. At least 2 times, maybe 3, depending on what happens with college football playoff season. You never know. But now we keep ourselves above the Missouri Compromise line as we check in on Conference USA, composing primarily of teams that are in the Conference USA, or at least in that northeastern part of the country, right? With the exception of Texas State. Texas State is just like a special little person. But in the Colonial Division, we have Navy, who is ranked in the top 25. Navy getting a lot of respect as a 5-star school, but their football team is pretty mid, but I still expect them to win the Colonial Division overall, because there's a bunch of other teams that are just frankly smaller programs like Rutgers, James Madison, Temple is in there as well. They're up to a 2-star program. Maryland is a 2-star school as well, and then Texas State, they're still a 1-star school. So even though Navy is not the best team on paper, I still think that they shouldn't have too much trouble winning the Colonial Division, though. As for the Union Division, could be seeing a hierarchical change, as I thought Penn State could run away with this division with a little bit of ease in year number 1, but Syracuse, they came out of nowhere. They really had a breakout year, really overperformed, and while I don't expect them to necessarily get back into the college football playoff yet again, I still think Syracuse is a good team. This could be a team that we could see play for a conference championship yet again, and they are picked to win the Union Division, but like I said, Penn State, they got a strong team on paper yet again. Pittsburgh, they're a top 25 team for a reason. Army is also in here as well. They're a 4-star school, so this could be one of the more compelling divisions to watch over the course of year number 2. And then there's Buffalo and Boston College. They're just simply trying to exist. Hopefully they can just wiggle their way into a bowl game, but it's certainly not going to be easy. Real quick though, we'll check in on the Independents as the Warhawks of Louisiana Monroe. They are up to a 2-star school after a Texas Bowl appearance against Rice. And then San Jose State, they maintain themselves as a 2-star school as well. But I don't expect them to do much over the course of this season because they kind of are lacking in talent. Lost a lot of talent in the offseason. But now we go to the MAC Conference, and the MAC Conference was the worst conference in high-end Division I football back in year number 1. Hopefully they can bounce back from that, but Tennessee and Notre Dame in the other division not getting as much respect though. I do expect Tennessee to win this division. We saw, I believe it was Vanderbilt win this division, but they're really not getting respected like that. Technically, in this Blues division should be Tennessee and everybody else. I just don't see how, unless Tennessee just slaps itself on the face yet again, how Tennessee cannot win this division. And they really need to carry the banner for this conference if they're going to be more respectable here in year number 2 as a collective entity. Meanwhile, in the Great Lakes, we see Notre Dame come in with a 90 overall squad. They did disappoint as well in year number 1, but they should be playing at a higher level this upcoming season. Marshall is a team to certainly watch out for. They could challenge Notre Dame, especially if Marshall is a team that did beat Notre Dame, I do believe, in the regular season. So that's something to watch out for. Northern Illinois, more respect than they got in year number 1. Should have been a team that went bowling, but even though they hit the threshold for bowl eligibility, they were not invited to a bowl game. They're on the same level as Northwestern, Illinois, and then West Virginia, a team that was ranked in the top 25. They fell off, but their team, at least on paper, is going to be better than last year. But we should see Notre Dame win this Great Lakes division, but Marshall, a team to watch out for. That could be a dark horse. But now we go over to the West Coast where we find the Mountain West Conference and we go into the Desert Division. Colorado, a team that won double-digit games last season, but again, just like last year, just not getting a lot of respect. They are unranked yet again, but Colorado's a good team and they are picked to win the Desert Division. But UNLV, they got a strong offense this upcoming season, so UNLV can also make some noise as well. Arizona State also could be in the mix here, as is the Arizona Wildcats, and plus New Mexico could do some things as well. There's a strong possibility that Air Force could finish last in this conference, but this is a pretty open division that could be winnable depending on who you're rooting for. Like, the overalls are extremely similar. It's going to come down to who is going to be the best coach here in year number 2, and then go from there. Meanwhile, over in the Mountain Division, Utah did disappoint in year number 1, but they are back at it again with the White fans, and they are expected to win the Mountain Division this time around. This is the division that ultimately Boise State did win, and I think Boise State will certainly be in the picture, although Utah is the favorite to win. However, Colorado State, Wyoming, and Utah State, they all got some work to do, although Colorado State has a decent offense. Defensively, it's going to be hard to watch Colorado State, to keep it honest with you guys. They do have a bottom 10 defense, so that's why I don't have them competing for the Mountain West title this season. But, you know, there's no dominant team in this conference, so there's a lot that certainly could change here over the course of the season. So we have 3 more conferences left to cover, and one of them is the Pac-12. This conference is going to be a gauntlet. This is a strong conference. California ranked in the top 10. Washington also ranked in the top 10, as is the Oregon Ducks. All elite programs that will probably get plenty of TV time over the course of the season. Even Nevada. Nevada's got a good football team. 90s across the board. Nevada's got a good squad, man. They could really make some noise. They weren't in a bowl game last year, but, I mean, they got the pieces. If they were in another conference, this is a team capable of winning a conference, but this conference is going to be difficult to navigate. I mean, there's no really easy outs. Maybe Washington State is the closest to that, but this is going to be a strong conference that is going to be an absolute delight to watch over the course of the season. could go in either direction. And it's also that way for the Pacific Coast too. USC is a team that we saw in the college football playoff. UCLA, also in the college football playoff in year number 1. They actually were runners-up for national championship honors. They finished second place when they ultimately lost to Miami. Now, San Diego State's not as good, and the rest of this division is not great, but I mean, there's some intrigue in this conference for sure, and I'm excited to watch how things unfold. USC and UCLA, they'll play each other at the end of the season. I would not be surprised if that's a college game day type of game, right? It could be that good. So to round things out, we'll go out to the southeastern portion of the country, and this is the SEC conference, the new look SEC. This is the Peach Division, which is teams that are mainly from the state of Georgia, although Alabama and South Carolina is also in here as well, represented for Myrtle Beach specifically. The Georgia teams are in the top 4. With Georgia, I expect them to win this division. 99 overall team. I mean, what is there to say about it? They got an elite squad. Georgia Tech, they'll try to compete, and you know, if things bounce their way, they could do it. But besides Georgia Tech, I don't see anyone else possibly being able to challenge Georgia this season. Georgia Southern could be a solid team. We saw them in a bowl game. And then Georgia State has some interesting pieces. They have an NFL caliber quarterback, but how much can he carry that team? And also, you know, can he remain healthy? Because if that quarterback gets hurt for Georgia State, there's going to be some problems there for sure, with UAB and Coastal Carolina being at the bottom. But the national champions, the reigning national champions anyways, they reside in the Sunshine Division. Here in the state of Florida, Miami, they have a team capable of winning a national championship once again. So obviously, I'm going to pick them to win this division, and really, it's just Miami and everybody else. Florida State's not on the same level. Florida's not on the same level as well. They actually had a down year. And then USF, Florida Atlantic, and UCF, all solid programs, but they all have a lot of work to do in order to catch Miami, because this Miami team was good last year, and while they might not be as good as they were last year, this is still a team that has a real chance of being in the college football playoff. I truly believe that. And now our final conference that we do have is the Sun Belt. That's going to have the Bayou and then also the Dixie divisions. Starting off with the Bayou, the LSU Tigers, once again being highly regarded in the preseason poll, ranked number 2 in the country, and they did win this division last year. One of the bigger conferences in college football. And while there's a lot of good teams in this conference, I do expect LSU to win it because, you know, some of these teams like Arkansas State and Tulane, they're about a year out from realistically being asked to compete against LSU, because LSU has a lot of talent in the state of Louisiana. Let's not be mistaken about that. And LSU, man, they're just at a high level right now. They're not thinking about conference championships. They're thinking about national championships and want to avenge how they couldn't defend that number 1 preseason ranking over the course of the season fully. But then Ole Miss is actually the number 1 team in the country, but could Ole Miss be dethroned in their own division? They are the defending conference champions. Alabama looks like a better team than what it was last year, and that offense is extremely good. They have a lot of experience coming back, so Alabama can certainly make some noise. Southern Miss has a pretty good offense as well. They could harass some of these better teams in the conference and in the country. And, you know, South Alabama, Mississippi State, Auburn, and, you know, even Troy to a degree. I know Troy's just a 1-star program, but they got some good coaching. They did change things up, minor tweaks with their staff, but this is going to be a really good conference to watch out for. It could be a 3-team race between Southern Miss, Alabama, and the Ole Miss Rebels when it's all said and done. But now we take the chance to look at the Heisman Watch. Some players to possibly look out for in terms of winning the Heisman as we embark on this season. Guys, a couple of guys who we did see in the college football playoff last year in year number 1. Jacob Butler looks like the preseason frontrunner. The quarterback from Syracuse who led his team to an undefeated record in the regular season, a Conference USA title, and also a trip to the semifinals of the college football playoff before being dropped by Miami. And speaking of Miami's quarterback's also in here as well. Casey Carter, quarterback, he is quarterbacking the Miami Hurricanes and will look to help win that national championship. And why there's a lot of hype for Miami as well, because they did win that national championship and they got their starting quarterback back, basically. Adam Williams is in here as well. He's a speed guy from Statesboro, Georgia. He's a senior redshirt playing for the Georgia Bulldogs. He is the centerpiece of this offense, and he ran for 1,800 yards on the ground last year. He is a certified beast. Jake Cook, the same could be said about him as well. He ran for nearly 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns in year number 1. Do we possibly see him declare for the NFL? Because he did all that stuff as a sophomore redshirt. Someone to possibly watch out for to see if the UCLA running back does try to go for the NFL early at the end of year number 2. And then last but not least, we got the Navy tailback, Lorenzo Bell, the senior redshirt from Charleston, South Carolina. He's representing for the Naval Academy. And while it'll be interesting to see if the Department of Defense waives his commitment to defer his time in the military, because this guy could play. He has 38 career touchdowns already, almost 3,500 yards, and not to mention he's on this Heisman watch too. But now, let's go ahead and check in on the All-Americans, at least here in the preseason. And it's a pretty diverse group, but certainly there's our mix of familiar faces as well. You guys have already seen Casey Carter, Adam Williams, and Lorenzo Bell. They're going to be all first-team nominees. But how about this for the wide receiver position? Some interesting characters in here. Quan Taylor is in here. He's a senior redshirt playing at Troy. And he was a focal point for the Troy offense in year number 1. He ended up with 16 touchdowns and caught 140 balls. That's absolutely ridiculous. And he could build on that yet again as he is back for his senior year. Patrick Wynn is also in here as well from Chino, California. Patrick Wynn playing for the UNLV Rebels. Rounding out the offensive skill position, guys, is Stephen Simpson, who is an impact player for Akron, even though he's just a 71 overall. So maybe that could mean that Akron is in for a tough season overall. But, you know, Stephen Simpson, he's better than what his overall says. I'm just going to put it like that. He had over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns in year number 1. Now, for the offensive line, we do have DJ Scholler, the left tackle from the University of Arkansas. Derek Evans, the left guard from Oklahoma. At center is BJ Arrington, the center for Oregon State. At right guard is Jordan Dunn, the senior from the University of Auburn. And rounding out your offensive line is Howard George, the senior who was born and raised in Hawaii and also playing for the Rainbow Warriors. But now we go to the defensive side of the football, and no surprises here. Stanley Jones is on here. He was really an impact guy in his true freshman campaign. You know, won the Nagurski and also won the Lombardi Award as well. Not to mention, he had 15 sacks as a true freshman. Like, that is ridiculous. This dude was a force to be reckoned with, so definitely obvious that he should have been on there. And then his teammate, Preston Scales, is on there too. He's also going to get All-American considerations as well. He's a senior redshirt for the Hurricanes. Now, for the interior of the defensive line, how about this? Another defensive lineman for Miami, Chad Walden, the senior redshirt out of Homestead, Florida. Also somebody who's considered a defensive star for the Miami Hurricanes, and you could see why. He had 16 sacks last season, so a lot of production coming back for Miami. And if they can play at that similar level somehow, they could be in the mix for another national championship. The only defensive lineman on this first team group that is actually not from the University of Miami is Chad Mulroy. He's a senior from LSU, but he did, however, also come from Florida. For the linebackers, we have Rodney Brashard, the senior out of LSU. He's a defensive star for this team as well. Had a very good season all around. Had 3 interceptions and 6 pass deflections. At the right side, we have Chad Flynn, the junior redshirt out of the University of Notre Dame. Someone that could be on the lookout for to possibly declare for the NFL draft, depending on how his junior redshirt campaign goes. And then we have Luke Barnes, the other outside linebacker, playing for the UCLA Bruins. He is a true junior that will have an extra year of eligibility after this year. Rounding out the defensive side of the ball, we have Matt Johnson, who's a junior from the University of Texas. Maurice Smith, who is also a junior. He is from Georgia, except he has been redshirted in the past. He is actually the defensive captain for the Georgia Bulldogs this upcoming season. He had 4 interceptions this past year. For the safeties, you have Josh Ridway, the senior out of LSU. And David Flowers, the junior safety out of the University of Washington. Of course, you have your fair share of kickers and punters. Terry Brown is your kicker from Notre Dame. And then we also have Buck Wagner, the junior out of UCLA. But now we go ahead and jump into the second team All-American list. Jacob Butler is, of course, in here. He is on the Heisman finalist list, as is Jake Cook, who is also a preseason Heisman finalist, but just narrowly missed out on first-team honors. This is a little bit of a surprise, though. Anthony Cunningham, the senior redshirt out of Appalachian State. A lot of hype on this kid. He's an FCS transfer. Now, for the remaining skill position guys on the offensive side of the ball, we got Mike Noland, the junior out of Oklahoma. He is born and raised in the state of Oklahoma. And at the other wide receiver spot is Marquise Thompson, who's a senior redshirt out of West Virginia. Rounding out the group will be Dan Washington, the senior tight end from the University of Louisville. For this offensive line, for the second team All-Americans, we got Ron Chase, the senior redshirt out of Florida State. Tyrone Wesley, the senior out of Georgia. Tony Robertson, the senior out of USC. Chris Carter, the senior out of Ole Miss, and rounding out your group is Courtney Smith, another senior from Georgia, who also happens to be an FCS transfer as well. A lot of hype on this kid, who played extremely well at the FCS level to start his college career. For the defensive side of the ball, we got Brian Hines, the senior redshirt out of LSU. We got Dusty Tyson at the other defensive end spot. He is a senior at Wisconsin, part of that college football playoff team that shocked Nebraska in the American Conference Championship game. And then moving into the interior, we got Jelani Matthews, the junior out of LSU, and James Brown, the junior of the University of Alabama. For your linebackers on this second team All-American list, we have Jamal Cutler, a junior redshirt out of the University of Georgia. Could possibly be someone to watch out for, by the way, in terms of someone that could declare for the NFL draft at the end of this season. He would still have an extra year of college eligibility if he decided not to do that. But your other linebackers include Johnny Parrish, the right outside linebacker from the University of Utah, and Matt Green, the right outside linebacker from Clemson. Within the secondary, though, we got Perry Braden, the junior out of Georgia. He's considered a hard-hitting type of guy. Willie Calhoun will be at the other corner spot for the initial second-team All-Americans. He is from the University of Florida. And then for your safeties, you got Andy Singleton, the junior out of Notre Dame, and Sean Miller, the strong safety who is a senior redshirt out of UCLA. Finally, for your kickers and punters, 42nd team guys, you got the Cincinnati native Derek Tyree, a senior playing at USC, and Elgin Russell, a senior out of LSU. He's from Belle-Chasse, Louisiana, and he's got a leg on him as well. But the moment you have been waiting for, Introducing the new custom players as well as custom coaches that will be new to the series going into year number 2. We'll start off with the custom coaches actually, and we'll start out with Josephi Krakowski getting his coaching start. He is alumni of Georgia Southern, and he will be starting his first season coaching the offensive side of the ball as an offensive coordinator for the Georgia State Bulldogs. Also getting their start in the college ranks is George Gentry, the very good coach here. He is actually going to be the offensive coordinator for the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, but his alma mater is with the Memphis Tigers, who we did see them have success in the past back in our NCAA 12 series. Fun fact of the day. Up next, we have Doug Rose, and if Doug Rose sounds familiar, he was actually somebody that played running back at Arkansas Pine Bluff in the FCS Dynasty, which is connected to this Sim League universe. Fun fact of the day. Doug Rose now finds himself coaching in the FBS college football ranks after an attempt to play in the NFL, and he is the offensive coordinator for Western Kentucky. Other brand new coaches who are going to be in this series as well is Jamar Lewis, who will get his coaching start at Appalachian State as the offensive coordinator for them here in year number 2. For the University of Indiana, Dalton Burrentine will also be the offensive coordinator. He'll look to turn around a team that was one of the worst teams in college football in year number 1, narrowly avoiding that dreaded 0-12 season. Meanwhile, Sam Cash will be entering the FBS college ranks as he will be making his collegiate debut as the offensive coordinator for the Old Dominion Monarchs out in the, what I would like to call, the Carolinas Conference. And the last custom coach I wanted to introduce you guys is Alex Sanders, who will be getting his collegiate coaching career started at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, out in the SEC. And now we'll take a chance to look at your guys that are now in the series as custom players as well. Starting at the sunny state of Hawaii, one of the nicest looking states in the country, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors will be welcoming Ron Robertson, who will be playing under offensive coordinator George Gentry, who is also a custom person as well. So we got a custom player and a custom coach at Hawaii here in year number 2. For the Baylor Bears, though, Wes Jordan will be joining the Baylor Bears as a JUCO transfer, and there's going to be some expectations on Wes Jordan right away, as he actually did win the starting quarterback job for the Baylor Bears, a team that is also ranked in the top 25. Up next, we go to Central Michigan, who will be welcoming in Dylan Wiley. Dylan Wiley will be a notable backup for the Central Michigan Chippewas this upcoming season, as he'll be playing quarterback for the CMU squad. Speaking of quarterback, Octavian Kador is also going to be a custom quarterback that is going to be joining the series, reminiscent of Cam Newton. He is someone that certainly has that athletic ability, but might not see the field right away. But now we have our first non-quarterback custom player in the Season 2 recruiting class. This is Travell Bankston, who will be playing wide receiver at LSU. At quarterback, we have Seth Randolph. Seth Randolph is going to be playing corner for the Memphis Tigers and joins his fellow custom Jody Gentry, who's also on the team as well. As for the Missouri Tigers, they actually will be one of 2 teams that will get multiple custom recruits in the year 2 custom player class. We got Lane Tybergian, who is going to be the wide receiver 5 in his true freshman campaign, and then his twin brother Lance Tybergian will more likely be redshirted, but did make the travel roster for the Missouri Tigers. Moving on to the Ole Miss Rebels, who are the preseason #1 team in the country. they welcome Chase Gentry to this team, who will be playing halfback. He will be a reserve halfback for the Ole Miss Rebels in his freshman campaign. Now, like I said earlier, there are actually 2 teams that got multiple custom guys here in year number 2, and Oregon was that other team, and Oregon has a real chance of being in the college football playoff once again, but 2 of those guys were both on the offensive side of football. At running back, you have Josh Walker Jr., who is joining the team. And then at wide receiver, we have Chris Gentry. Adding on to that Gentry branch, could be one of the best football families in this series because they got a lot of talented players already in this series. It's going to be interesting to see how his college career turns out. Moving on to Penn State, we have Trent Seven, who is actually going to be the running back for the Penn State Nittany Lions, but I know he looks like a quarterback. He actually is a running back, pretty solid running back for Penn State actually, but he does have a little bit of that hybrid quarterback running back number. And then the last custom player that I wanted to introduce to you guys was Mike Thomas. He is going to be playing wide receiver at the University of Tennessee. He does come in as a true freshman. Thank you guys so much for everyone that did end up submitting either a custom player or a custom coach. If you didn't see your guy, don't worry. If I do have him marked down, then he will be included in the year 3 recruiting class at the very least. But gonna be a lot of interesting football, and it's gonna be interesting to see some of the college careers end up turning about for your custom guys. Can't wait to see how things shake out this upcoming year. Now, one more thing that I did change, something that I kind of talked about in the off-season episode, is that I did make a small adjustment to the sliders. So what I did end up doing, in the interest of hopefully seeing some more offensively driven games, particularly in our top 25 matchups, since I thought those college football playoff games were a little bit too consistently low scoring for my taste. So what I did was I increased the quarterback accuracy, pass blocking, wide receiver catching, running back ability, and run blocking up by 10 points. So run blocking went from 50 to 60, RB ability from 40 to 50, same thing with wide receiver catching, pass blocking also the same thing as well, and then quarterback accuracy goes from a 5 up to a 15. So hopefully that means we end up seeing some more slightly higher scoring games moving forward, but I'm really excited for this season. But guys, that is going to wrap things up here in today's episode of the NCSL Dynasty. I hope you really enjoyed the content in today's episode. Like I said, it was certainly a jam-packed one. Next episode, we will have week number 1 of the NCSL, the kickoff week, and I'm excited to kick things off and finally jump into gameplay. Been waiting on this for a while, man. Opening days, they always hit just a little bit different. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and if you did, you can definitely show me that by smashing that like button for me. That really does help me out with the YouTube algorithm, get this video out to more college football fans like yourself, and I really do appreciate you guys watching this full video if you made it this far. And if you're brand new to the channel and you just love what you're seeing, make sure you go ahead, smack that subscribe button for me. That way we can grow this YouTube community even further as we are closing in on football season in real life as well. It's going to be a fun one. So that being said, guys, this is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.